Welcome to Brewers Daily. Merry Christmas. It is Christmas Eve, so I'm festive. Okay, I got the hat. I got the Christmas themed sweater here, the ugly Christmas sweater, because it's that time of year. It's what we got to do. We got to get into the spirit. It's a great time. We got a lot to get to here on the show here on Brewers Daily. There's some news about a potential TV deal regarding the Brewers and how things may change for what the Brewers are doing for their television rights this upcoming season. So we got that to get to here. Hopefully we can get that deal fully under the Christmas tree here. And talking about just kind of the story from Christmas past with the Brewers, and we'll get into the farm system a little bit as well because I love the farm system. I think the prospects that the Brewers have are fantastic, so I love diving in to those guys. But first, where I want to start is the NL Central here, and potentially how much the Brewers need to keep pace with the rest of the guys, because I've seen this kind of floating around amongst Brewers fandom. But the Pittsburgh Pirates are now deciding they want to try, which, I mean, good for them. I mean, it's been several years since they've done that. And they were just able to sign Ryan O'Hearn, first baseman, to a multi-year deal. 2 years, $29 million. Ryan O'Hearn goes to the Pittsburgh Pirates, so he's now in the NL Central as they're trying, which, fantastic. Ryan O'Hearn, I think a lot of Brewers fans were looking at him as a potential addition for the Brewers this past summer at the trade deadline. Ultimately, the Brewers did not get him because they called up Andrew Vaughn instead, and Andrew Vaughn was just so freaking good. They decided to roll with that, which made a ton of sense. Can't really fault the Brewers front office for that one. But Ryan O'Hearn then goes to the Padres. Now he hits free agency, and he ultimately signs with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I've seen this kind of floating around about how other teams in the NL Central are getting better and how they're willing to spend the money. Let's calm down here, okay? This is the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is the first multi-year contract they have handed out to a free agent since Ivan Nova in 2016. It was? Yeah, 2016. Ivan Nova. That was the last time the Pirates handed out a multi-year contract. Them handing out a 2-year deal to essentially a platoon-type first base bat in Ryan O'Hearn is not really something that's going to be threatening the Brewers here. In terms of, having to spend money, having to do whatever with the roster to keep pace. The Brewers roster is far better than the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, this is the Pirates we're talking about here. They have a lot more roster construction to go before I get any sort of concern about what they're doing and trying to keep pace in the NL Central. Because the Brewers, they have a lot of their roster already in place. Okay, they've got a lot of really good players across the board, a lot better players than what the Pirates have, okay, at their positions. So, for them to make a free agent signing, great. It's fantastic for them. Happy for Pirates fans. They certainly deserve better than what they've gotten out of that team in the past several years. But in terms of this whole, trying to keep pace, and like just doing something almost just to do something, because I get it. It's that time of year. The Brewers haven't done a whole lot lately, or really kind of done a whole lot in general with this offseason. But they also don't need to do quite as much. They don't need to do as much as the Pittsburgh Pirates in order to build a competitive roster. They've got the large portion of their competitive roster already here. We just saw them win 97 games. There's not that much work for them to do in order to keep pace. If we're talking about trying to keep pace, that's where you got to worry about what really the Chicago Cubs are doing or what the Cincinnati Reds are doing. And even then, I still think the Brewers are still pacing those guys quite a bit in terms of the roster quality that they have. The Cubs really haven't done anything to this point. Kyle Tucker is still out there. They're not likely to sign him, so they're losing him. That makes them worse. In terms of trying to keep pace or trying to worry about what the rest of the division is doing, I don't think Matt Arnold's worried about what the rest of the division is doing. I don't think he necessarily needs to, and especially not with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know we want to see the Brewers do something. I want to see the Brewers do something too. I want something fresh to talk about. I would love to see them, get some sort of move done. But the Pittsburgh Pirates signing Ryan O'Hearn is not really something that I'm going to get, too upset about. It's great to see them sign somebody to a multi-year deal and get a good player and maybe try. But I'll still believe it when I see it when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm not believing that they're going to be truly competitive in this division anytime soon. They're going to have to prove that before I believe that they're actually going to be legit at any point going forward. The Brewers, I think we know, are going to remain legit going forward. And one of the reasons why is the incredibly strong farm system that the Brewers have. They have continued to build up and make very strong just year in and year out. They just find gems in the draft, in trades. They're able to get some good young players in. So they know what they're looking for when it comes to the farm system. And they got some really, really great young talent in there. So I kind of want to mention just kind of a couple of guys that I think could have a true impact in 2026 because prospects are great, farm system's great, but ultimately you got to turn that into big league production. That's something the Brewers have done in recent years. You look at Caleb Durbin, you look at Isaac Collins, you look at Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, Garrett Mitchell. You just kind of go up and down the line. And the Brewers have got so many, great talented players in their lineup on their pitching staff that came up through the farm system and they had an impact. So, just kind of looking to this next season, looking at 2026, which guys could provide the most potential impact for this Brewers club. So there are 5 names that really stick out to me that I kind of want to run down here as potentially the most impactful for this team. And I'm going to start with Logan Henderson and Robert Gasser. I mean, those are 2 of the top pitching prospects that are still prospect eligible for the Brewers that very easily could make an impact and should make an impact on this pitching staff. I don't know if either of them is going to make the initial starting rotation coming out of spring training. That's all going to be sorted out in spring training because as of right now, you got 4 essentially locks for that rotation: Peralta, Woodruff, Priester, and Mizrowski. Then you got that 5th spot that's open for the taking. Could it go to Henderson or Gasser? Sure, absolutely. But you also got Chad Patrick in there. You also got Tobias Myers who could be in there. You got Aaron Ashby and DL Hall that could end up earning that spot as well. So lots of different routes that the Brewers could go with those spots. But at some point, we know Logan Henderson, Robert Gasser, they are going to be making an impact on this roster, whether they're coming up for spot starts in case of an injury, whether they're in the bullpen, whatever it is, these guys are going to be pitching for the Brewers, and they're going to be pitching incredibly well in 2026. And so I'm excited to see what Henderson and Gasser are going to be able to do as they eventually graduate here from prospect status in 2026. I'm also very excited for Jefferson Quero, who I think can make an impact if the Brewers allow him to be the backup catcher to William Contreras. Now, granted, with Contreras out there, Quero's probably not going to be playing much, so I'm not sure if he's going to be spending the bulk of his time down there in AAA, or if he is going to ultimately be that number 2 catcher for the Brewers in Milwaukee, and they get him that big league experience that way. But either way, I think we're going to see him in the major leagues this season, and I think he's going to end up making an impact. He's a very, very good hitter. You hope that the defense is going to improve, especially that throwing arm, because it was an absolute cannon before shoulder surgery. And he comes back last year. It's not quite as good as it was before. So maybe, several more months removed from that surgery, the throwing arm is going to get a little bit better, a little bit closer to what it was before. If it can, he's going to be an absolute stud for this team and perhaps the future behind the plate. I know we talked about extensions and how the Brewers should extend William Contreras, but if they don't, and I think there's a high likelihood that they don't, Jefferson Quero is likely in line to be your catcher of the future. So very excited to see what kind of impact he can bring this next season. And then also, I want to turn to a couple of other candidates that I think can make an impact as prospects this next season. Number 1, Craig Yoho. He's a familiar name. He got called up a couple of times throughout the season in 2025. Didn't ultimately pitch enough to lose his prospect status. Struggled with command issues a little bit, but he's someone who he can be an absolute stud out of the bullpen. He's got some electric stuff. So as long as that command continues to improve a little bit and he cuts down on those walk problems, I think Craig Yoho is going to be someone who's going to earn himself a spot in this bullpen this year, and that is going to put him in a fantastic spot to make an impact. Because once you get him in there, I have a feeling he can get himself into being essentially a high leverage option fairly quickly. If that command's able to improve. And the 5th prospect that I want to bring up and mention here that I think can make an impact in 2026 is Coleman Crow. The Brewers added him to the 40-man roster this offseason to prevent him from reaching minor league free agency. They got him in the Tyrone Taylor, Adrian Hauser trade a couple of years ago. And, he finally made it back from Tommy John surgery this past year, looked really, really good in Double A. So I think Coleman Crow is someone who absolutely can make an impact, most likely out of the bullpen. He's probably not going to start the year in Milwaukee, but I would not be surprised if at some point throughout the year the Brewers call him up and he ends up doing a really, really good job out of the bullpen. So he's someone to keep an eye on as well when it comes to this Brewers farm system. So that's just kind of who I wanted to bring up and look at there. And because it's Christmas Eve here, just kind of want to do a little dive back into Brewers history. And this day, 19 years ago, the Brewers signed Jeff Suppan. So for all the whole, hey, the Brewers should, sign somebody just to sign somebody, make a move just for the sake of making a move. Well, the Brewers in 2006 made a move here on Christmas Eve to try and spice up the team and get them a little bit better. Say, oh yeah, we're going to make this move, and they signed Jeff Suppan to a 4-year, $42 million deal, and it bombed atomically. It was awful. It was horrendous. It was arguably the worst free agent signing that the Brewers have ever made in franchise history, and it goes to show why free agent pitching isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be. The Brewers don't really go long-term contracts for starting pitchers anymore, especially free agent starting pitchers. They're not diving into that market. They're not paying that kind of money for guys like that. I mean, they did it for Jeff Suppan. It worked out horribly. Matt Garza, didn't really work out that great either. Kyle Loesch was solid for a little bit, but they went 3 years on Kyle Loesch, and by the third year, it was really starting to tank. So they really kind of make it a little bit, they're very wary when it comes to free agent starting pitching. And Jeff Suppan is a very, very cautionary tale. Soup looked good tonight. No, he did not. Soup did not look good tonight. He did not look good any night. He was awful. But that's why they call him the ghost of Christmas past. It's the ghost. You don't want to see him. It's scary. It certainly scares you and scared Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah, it just goes to show making a move just for the sake of making a move, just to feel good in that moment, because it felt good in the moment to sign Jeff Suppan. It really did. And very quickly, it stopped feeling good. So, just kind of a cautionary tale there about wanting to make a move just for the sake of making a move. Now, finally here, I want to get to some, actual kind of news here as we saw, coming out. The Main Street Media Group, which runs FanDuel Sports Network, FanDuel Wisconsin, which the Brewers re-upped with for this next season. So they are going to be carrying the Brewers games this next year on regular TV, on your cable subscription. They still have the app and whatnot. So the Brewers are keeping with that regular, TV rights holder with FanDuel Sports Network, where they've been for the past several years. Obviously prior Bally's, Fox Sports, all that stuff, all the name changes, still the same spot where they've been on your TV for the past several years. But potentially that could be in jeopardy because Main Street Sports Group, which they hold they run the FanDuel Sports Network, they are trying to get bought by DAZN, which runs a whole bunch of like international sports streaming and sports TV rights and that kind of stuff. They're trying to get bought by that, but there's the potential for it to fall through. If that deal falls through, because they're trying to close it in January, but if it falls through, there's a chance that Main Street Sports Group goes kaput. And once again, we will have no FanDuel Sports Network. They're just going to drop all their contracts. They're continuing to have issues paying the rights fees that they have to these teams. They've already negotiated lower fees for all these teams, and they're not getting as much as they once were. So there's a potential problem here. If this deal doesn't go through to DAZN, then that's where we could see the whole regional sports network model once again goes under with Main Street here. And then the Brewers end up having to go to MLB TV, which I believe is now licensed out through ESPN, ESPN Plus. So that may be where we end up having to go for Brewers games this next season. ESPN Plus, MLB TV. ESPN would get the rights then from MLB TV if this deal falls through. So it's not quite a guarantee just yet that the Brewers will be turning to FanDuel Sports Network. FanDuel Sports Network may go under. They may, but they're looking to get bought out by DAZN, so we'll see if that ends up coming through. But according to the reporting here on The Athletic, they're in the financial peril, and a sale could be wrapped up as soon as January, but if it falls through, Main Street could be shut down following the NBA and NHL seasons. And we're seeing some issues with Main Street trying to reduce what they pay to teams and having some issues paying some teams. Apparently, they missed a scheduled payment to the St. Louis Cardinals, which, take that, Cardinals. But that's overall still very bad. As much as the Cardinals not getting the money is like, okay, whatever. NL Central rival doesn't get it, but that is not a good sign for the health of Main Street Sports Group, and what could end up happening here with FanDuel Sports Network Wisconsin. So they're trying to figure it out, but they're struggling. They're trying to get sold to DAZN, which could save the regional sports network for the Brewers here. Will it ultimately happen? We'll find out in January, but that's something to just kind of keep our eyes on as well. And, hope that they can get it done. That'd be a very Merry Christmas for all of us. And I hope all of you have a very Merry Christmas as well. Enjoy the holiday, enjoy the season of giving. And I hope you have a wonderful time with all your families, and just really enjoy the holiday for what it's meant to be. So very excited for that. I'm excited to spend time with my family, and certainly in the holiday spirit over here as well. So, and hopefully the Brewers will give us something under the tree here, and get something done across the finish line, because there's still work to do on this roster heading into next season. So thank you again for listening. Appreciate every single one of you. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel here, Brewers Daily on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. You can get all my reactions to anything that happens with Brewers on there. And we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.